Hello, welcome back. We're going to continue with the PowerPoint slide 21, which is working with word processing, Module 1, create and editing, an overview as we prepare for our assignments with Module 1. So we just went over the copy and cut, and now we're going to look at the clipboard. So if you click this little dialog box launcher in the clipboard group, it'll open up this window pane here. So anything that you've copied or cut, it will go in here. So you could always, you cut the word communication or key or sentence, and now you decide you want it back and you can't remember what it was. If you've recently copied or cut it, it'll show up in your clipboard pane. So a good example, if you were selecting a sentence, and it was this sentence here that I copied or cut, it'll show up in here, so I can always get it back if I need to. If I were to have selected this sentence and on the keyboard I press delete, it will not show up in the clipboard pane. The only time it'll show up in the clipboard pane is if you used copy or cut. So if I selected this sentence and click cut, and it was gone, and then I decided I wanted it back and I couldn't remember the entire sentence, I could open up my clipboard pane, see it, and just click it, and it would go right back into place. So the clipboard is an excellent resource as long as you use copy and cut and not delete on the keyboard, and it'll stay in your clipboard pane. Now the clipboard pane will hold up to 24 of your most recent copy or cuts. Once it gets to the 25th, your very first one will go away and it'll have the new one. So there's always 24 that'll show. If you hover over on the right hand side, you could always delete one if you didn't want it anymore to keep 24 of the ones that you would use frequently. To close out of the clipboard, you would just click this X. It does not lose any of your copies and cuts. You could just open it right back up. So the clipboard pane can be a great resource. Drag and drop. So there's drag and drop to take text in one location and just drop it into another section. It's a quick way to do it rather than to copy, put it in your clipboard pane, go to your new location, and then go back into your clipboard group and choose paste. If you just select it and then hover over the selected text and drag it to your new location, it's done. You don't have to, so you save a couple of steps. The copy and drag is great. Same thing, you select the text that you want to move, but you want to also keep it in its original location. So you would hold control while you're dragging it. And you'll get that little underneath the arrow, a little box, meaning you're taking a copy of that and putting it into a new location. Great feature. Undo and redo. As long as it's most recent, something to undo, because you don't want to undo things that you actually really don't want. So you could actually click the down arrow and select what particular step you want to undo, not undo all of them, or redo to change your mind again. And the shortcut key for undo is Control Z. Redo, if you want to redo something over and over again, it's also called a repeat key, and that would be Control Y, or there's another shortcut key, and we'll practice this later on. It's F4, the function key F4. So you could just click this button in the quick access toolbar, or Control Y, or F4. All about fonts. So there are so many different fonts to choose from for your whatever particular document you're creating. So the three most popular ones are called Serif font, sans serif, and the script. So when you look at the serif font, it has on the edges curves, lines, and they extend beyond the letter. So it's a unique style, where the sans serif font has no additional strokes. So you can see that it's just pretty straightforward documents. Courier is an example of a sans serif font. Times New Roman would be an example of a serif font. Sometimes when you select a sans serif font, I do anyway, have trouble with the letter, capital letter I, an L, and a 1. They all look the same. If you had it at a serif font, they'd have different curves on them, so you could recognize the letter I versus the letter L or the number 1. And of course, something that looks like a signature would be the script fonts. To change a font, again, you select the text that you want to be reflected on that, and you have your down arrow, and it's in alphabetic order, and you have so many to choose from. And as you're hovering over them, you'll get a live preview of what the font for your particular text will look like. So that's a nice little feature. As you hover over them, you'll see what it looks like. When you select a particular font, later on, when you go into your down arrow to choose a font, if you used different fonts, it'll be listed in your most recent fonts at the very, very top. So you don't have to go searching for it again. So that's a nice feature too. To change the font color, again, you would select the text that you want to be reflected. You can see that the font has been changed, the type, and also the size, 72, quite large. And then you click, right now it's set for automatic, but you could click the down arrow and select any color you want. That's for the font color, and there's a sample of it there. If you wanted to enhance it more, you could choose the bold, italic, or underline commands. And again, the underline has the down arrow, so it has more options. This is an example of the bold, and again, the shortcut is Control B, and italic is Control I, and underline is Control U. Now, when you select one of these items from the font group, if you click in the word that you've put bold on, it'll be in gray, meaning bold has been applied to that text. And the same thing if it was in italic or underline was applied, they would also have that gray box around it showing that it's been selected. Change case, this is my favorite. So a lot of times you think you put cap locks on and you actually turned it off and you type the entire title of something in lowercase. Do not retype it. Just select the whole title and click the change case, and then just select uppercase, and it'll put every letter in the entire title that's in lowercase in uppercase for you. Or you could choose capitalize each word, lowercase, and sentence case, but uppercase isn't a great feature. Highlight text, if you want something to stand out, you would highlight it. Again, you would select the text first. The default setting is the bright yellow. If you wanted to change it to a different color, you would click the down arrow and select all of the colors. If you change your mind and you don't want it highlighted, you would select the text and choose no color. And there's just a sample of the text selected. That's just selecting it and then putting it in yellow. Change the font size. Again, you always select the text first, and you can select the down arrow and select any sizes you want. And I told you it goes by ones, and then when it gets to 12, it goes by twos, and then it starts to jump around from 28 to 36 to 48 to 72. The 72 point size, let's say you wanted 50 or 60, you could actually type in the exact number that you wanted if you wanted to have something specific. So even if it's not there, you can actually type what you want. If you wanted to just do it gradual, you would click the grow and shrink font. And again, select your text first. To create a bulleted list, it just makes things stand out, especially a list of items. So what you would do is select the text that you want, and then you would click. Now again, there's two parts of it. The left side, it'll give you the default bullet, which is the solid circle. If you click the down arrow, you can select what type of bullet style you want. So the default is the circle, or you can click the down arrow and pick whatever you'd like. And then later on we'll get into where if there's, limited options here, but if we go to define new bullet, you can actually pick many more options. To customize your bullet, again, you would select your text. You want to go with something different, you would click Define New Bullet. You can do it a couple different ways. You could go to Symbol. I'm not sure if you heard this, but there's a symbol called web dings and wing dings, and they have little icon pictures that you could select. Or you could go into your picture and choose maybe something colorful with flowers, and so there's a lot to choose from there. Whatever you select, you'll get here as a sample of what it will look like on your document. So here we went into wingdings, and it has, you can see, clocks and stars, and you could select anything you want. And once there's your preview, and in the end, this is what it would look like. You can also, the particular bullet that you selected, if you choose font, you can actually change the size of it and the color of it. So there the sample is, it's in green. Numbering, again, if you have a list of items and you want them, a numbering is usually used when you're doing things in a particular order, whereas bullets are more random, but they also make the text stand out. So again, you have your numbering right next to the bulleting. If you choose the default setting, it's 1 period, 2 period. But if you click the down arrow, you have more options where you can have the parenthesis sign, or you can have Roman numerals or capital letters, lowercase letters. There's many more options to choose from. And then it puts all of the text in number order. Now, let's say you wanted to add one between 4 and 5. If you went after choir and pressed enter, you'd have a new blank 5, and 6 would become send invitations. So Word has a way of automatically numbering them for you, so you won't lose the numbering style or the sequence. If you wanted to restart numbering, because sometimes what happens is when you're numbering and then you have another topic, it'll continue off on the previous number, so it went with 6. If you wanted it to start over a fresh new set of numbers, all you would do is select the 3 items here and right-click and choose Restart at 1, so you'd have it 1 again. Or you can have it continue numbering, would change it to 6. So you have that option. Margins, the default setting is to have a top of 1 inch, a bottom of 1 inch, left and right 1 inch. That's the default settings for all new documents. If you wanted narrow, you can see that it's filled up just about every edge of the paper. It's just a 1/2 inch on each side, 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. And then wide is 2 inches all around. So it depends what type of document you want everything to fit on one page. You could change the margin settings. You could also customize them also. Layout, so here's the margins. Normal is the default, top, bottom, left, right, 1 inch, narrow, moderate, and wide, and then custom. Again, it was in layout, margins, and you could choose customize. This is the default settings, and you can change them manually to something that you want specific, and then you get a little preview here. I hope this helps, and we'll continue on with Module 1 and working with assignments.